This will probably be a pretty quick video. I just wanted to highlight some useful websites to anyone doing biochem research or experiments. So starting off, we have Xbasy. It's a resource that has a whole bunch of different bioinformatics tools. You can see there are a lot, but I just want to highlight two main ones that have been really useful to me. So first off, we have Uniprobe. Now, this is basically a resource to look at different proteins. So we search kinase, for example, and I pick this random kinase. It gives you a little bit of information about the kinase. We'll show you any relevant reactions it's involved in. You can see annotates different sites of interest, and if we go all the way down, you can actually get the amino acid sequence. And so if you go to FASTA, you can get the sequence like that and use it in any projects that you have. The other tool from Xbasy, which is really useful, is the Xbasy Translate tool. It's a fairly simple tool, to be honest. It just converts DNA or RNA sequences to a protein sequence. But to anyone who's done a little bit of biochem, they know this is a pretty useful tool that you'll probably be using quite a bit. So just wanted to highlight it. Now, in terms of other websites that have useful bioinformatics tools, the MPI Bioinformatics Toolkit is pretty useful. See here, tertiary structure, secondary structure, there's sequence analysis. So if you want to look for coiled coils, for example, you can align with other sequences, search for different proteins with similar sequences, similar homology, things like that. So the MPI Bioinformatics Toolkit is another useful resource besides Xbasy. Now, besides these institutes that kind of make the tools, a lot of biotech companies also actually provide some really useful tools. So England Biolabs is an example of this. You can see they have quite a few tools, quite a few pages of tools actually. But again, I'll just highlight some particularly useful ones. So for example, NAB Cutter will allow you to put in your gene of interest and determine if there are any cut sites by specific enzymes. So if you're doing restriction enzyme cloning, you want to make sure basically that you don't accidentally cut in your gene. This is a useful tool for that. And again, Enzyme Finder, another tool from NAB, will basically show you all the different enzymes that you can use for cloning and the specific sequences that you'll need to get that system to work. And lastly, you have TM Calculator. So this will allow you to basically design primers with a specific TM. So when you're doing PCR, you can design the primer so that they're somewhere between 60 and 65 C, for example. But it's not just NAB that has these tools. Like I mentioned, a lot of biotech companies kind of have resources like this. So Thermo Fisher, for example, also has a TM calculator. And if you look around other companies, you'll find a bunch of useful tools like this. So that's just a general tip to kind of look out for. Now, if you're working more with genes instead of proteins, GenBank is a pretty useful resource. They have tons of sequences. You can just look up the gene, and they also have some tools to kind of help with analyzing those gene sequences as well. And if you're more interested in kind of the metabolism and pathways of multiple genes, then Metapsych, I think, is a really useful resource. For example, if you look here, we can see the pathway involved in ethanol degradation, all the different metabolic products along the way and the enzymes involved. So you can put in either a specific gene, a specific protein, metabolite, or a whole pathway, and Metapsych will help you kind of figure out things with that. So pretty useful tool. And moving on from kind of more bioinformatics resources, actual stores where you can buy the equipment and consumables and reagents that you'll use in your experiments. I think we'll start off with the Odin, since it's a pretty useful one. The Odin has equipment, like you can see here. So everything from electrophoresis power supplies, centrifuges, PCR machines. It is a little bit limited, but they also do have a lot of pretty cool reagents. So, for example, trypsin you can get here, L15 media, things like that. And they also do provide, famously, gene engineering kits as well. So the Odin, useful resource for that. Now, Carolina is another kind of resource where you can buy some reagents, lab equipment, things like that. I'd say the selection's probably a bit bigger, wider than the Odin. They have all sorts of different types of equipment, but on the flip side, it is going to be more expensive, since this is catering more towards the education and sort of school market rather than the DIY bio market. But if you can't find it on the Odin, there's a potential that you can find it at Carolina. And even though they cater to the education market, they also do sell to individuals. Lastly, if you're doing any PCR, anything like that, you'll need primers, and alpha ADN or alpha DNA, depending on whether it's the French version or the English version, offers primers for a fairly reasonable rate. I think it's 18 cents per base pair, and they'll ship anywhere around the world. So that's another pretty useful tool. And if you guys have any questions about any of these sites that I mentioned, just put a comment on the video, and yeah, maybe try checking out some of these websites.